The Royal Netherlands Air Force, Royal Air Force, is the military aviation branch of the Netherlands Armed Forces. Its ancestor, the Luchtvaartafdeling of the Dutch Army, was founded on 1 July 1913, with 4 pilots. The aerobatic display team of the Royal Netherlands Air Force is the solo display team. History. Origin. In 1913, the Royal Netherlands Air Force is the second youngest operational part of the Dutch Armed Forces, which consists of 4 parts: Navy, Army, Air Force and Military Police. Dutch air power started in July 1913 with the founding of the Army Aviation Group at Soesterberg Airfield. When founded, the Army Aviation Group operated 1 aircraft, the Brick, which was supplemented with 3 French Farman aircraft a few months later. These aircraft were soon outdated and the Dutch government ordered several fighter, reconnaissance Nieuport and Caudron aircraft to replace them. World War I. The Netherlands maintained a neutral position during World War I and the Army Aviation Group did not take part in any action, instead developing the force's capabilities. Pilot training was opened for ranks below officer, and technical, aerial photography, meteorological and navigation flights were established. New airfields were established at Arnhem, Gilsey Ridge Air Base, Venlo and Vlissingen. Between the wars after the end of World War I, the Dutch government cut the defense budget and the Army Aviation Group was almost dissolved. As political tensions in Europe increased during the late 1930s, the government tried to rebuild the armed forces again in 1938, but there were many problems, not least the shortage of pilot instructors, navigators and pilots to fly the new multiple-engine aircraft. Lack of standardization and resulting maintenance issues added to the complexity of the rebuilding task. World War II and late 1940s. As war loomed, in July 1939 the Army Aviation Group was renamed the Army Aviation Brigade. In August 1939, the Netherlands government mobilized its armed forces. But due to limited budgets, the Army Aviation Brigade operated only 176 combat aircraft of the following types: 16 Fokker TV-type bombers, 36 Fokker D-21 single-engine fighters, 35 Fokker GI twin-engine fighters, 7 Fokker D-17 single-engine fighters, 17 Douglas DB-8A3N light bombers, 20 Fokker CX light bombers, 33 Fokker CV reconnaissance aircraft, 20 Koolhoven Fk-51 artillery observer aircraft. In May 1940, Germany invaded the Netherlands. Within 5 days the Dutch Army Aviation Brigade was taken out by the German Luftwaffe. All of the brigade's bombers, along with 30 D-21 and 17 GI fighters, were shot down. 2 D-21 and 8 GI were destroyed on the ground. 2 GI were captured by German forces, one of which was later flown to England by a Fokker pilot. The Douglas bombers were used as fighters because no suitable bombs were available. These aircraft were poorly suited for this role and 8 were shot down and 3 destroyed on the ground in the first hours of the conflict. In spite of their numerical inferiority, the Dutch armed forces did enjoy success against the Luftwaffe, having 350 Luftwaffe aircraft destroyed, although many of these were lost to anti-aircraft fire and crashes at improvised landing fields in the Netherlands rather than due to action by Dutch fighters. The cost was high, almost 95% of the Dutch pilots were lost. In recognition of their actions, Queen Wilhelmina granted the highest Dutch military decoration, the Militair Willemsorde, to the Army Aviation Brigade collectively. Some aircrews escaped to England, and on 1 June 1940, 320 Squadron and 321 Squadron were established there under AF Operational Command. Due to a shortage of personnel, 321 Squadron was absorbed by 320 Squadron in January 1941. Although their personnel were predominantly from the Navy Air Service, Army aviation aircrew also served with 320 Squadron until the end of the war. In 1941, the Royal Netherlands Military Flying School was re-established in the United States at Jackson Field, Jackson, Mississippi, operating Lend-Lease aircraft and training all military aircrew for the Netherlands. De separate militaire Luchtvaart van het Koninklijke Nederlands Indiscleger continued in the Netherlands East Indies, until its occupation by Japan in 1942. Some personnel escaped to Australia and Ceylon. 321 Squadron was reformed in Ceylon, in March 1942, from Dutch aviators. In 1942, 18 Squadron, a joint Dutch-Australian unit, was established, in Canberra, equipped with B-25 Mitchell bombers. It saw action in the New Guinea campaign and over the Dutch East Indies. In 1943, 120 Squadron was established. Equipped with Kitty Hawk fighters, it flew many missions under Australian command, including the recapturing of Dutch New Guinea. In June 1943, a Dutch fighter squadron was established in England. 322 Squadron, equipped with the Supermarine Spitfire, saw action as part of the RAF. 322 Squadron aircraft featured the British RAF roundels as well as the Dutch Orange Triangle. 322 Squadron was successfully deployed against incoming V-1 flying bombs from mid-1944. During the invasion of Normandy, it executed ground attack missions over France and Belgium. In July 1944, the Directorate of Netherlands Air Power was established in London. In 1947, its Chief of Air Force Staff was appointed. 1950s and 1960s. In 1951, several non-combat functions in the Army aviation were opened to women. On 27 March 1953, the Royal Netherlands Air Force officially became an independent part of the Dutch Armed Forces, rather than part of the Army. The Air Defence Command, consisting of a command unit, 5 radar stations and 6 fighter squadrons, had been established. Its radar equipment as well as its air defence fighters all came from obsolete RAF stocks. The Spitfire Mk.I.X was used by 322 Squadron RNLAF until 1954, but was replaced as new squadrons were established. The Gloucester Meteor FMK.IB was used by 322, 323, 324, 325, 326, 327 and 328 squadrons from 1948 to 1957. Bases included Soesterberg and Leeuwarden. The Gloucester Meteor FMK-8 was used by 322, 323, 324, 325, 326, 327 and 328 Squadron from 1951 to 1958. After the Netherlands joined NATO, another new command, Tactical Air Command, was established. CTL consisted of 7 new strike squadrons, all equipped with Republic F-84G Thunderjet aircraft. These aircraft were supplied by the United States under the Mutual Defense Aid Program from 1952 to 1956. 311 was the first flying squadron to be stood up at Volkel on 1 May 1951. 322, 323, 324, 325, 326 and 327 Squadron operated the Hawker Hunter FMK-4 between 1955 to 1964, and 322, 324, 325 and 326 Squadron operated the Hawker Hunter FMK-6 between 1957 to 1968. 700, 701 and 702 Squadron operated the North American F-86K Sabre all-weather fighter between 1955 to 1964. 306, 311, 312, 313, 314, 315 and 316 Squadron changed aircraft configuration from 1955 to 1970 as the Republic F-84F Thunderstreak and RF-84F Thunderflash became available. New Guinea conflict. The Indonesian government claimed New Guinea following the end of the Second World War. The Dutch government considered the area Dutch territory. Negotiations over the country were conducted for years, but tensions grew until Indonesia broke diplomatic relations with the Netherlands at the end of the 1950s. In response, in 1958, the Netherlands deployed military reinforcements to New Guinea, including an Air Force detachment for the air defense of the island Biak, as there was evidence that Indonesia was infiltrating the island in advance of a military operation. The first Air Force contribution was the installation of two MKIV early warning radars on Biak and neighboring Woendi Island. The political situation between the Netherlands and Indonesia continued to deteriorate, and in 1960 the Dutch government deployed reinforcements. The operations were known by name as Plan Fidelio. For the Dutch Air Force, this meant the establishment of an air defense command for New Guinea consisting of 1 Hawker Hunter Mk4 Air Defense Squadron, a radar navigation system at Biak, and a reserve airstrip at No M4. The Dutch government deployed a squadron consisting of 12 Hawker Hunter Mk04 AD fighters and 2 Alouette Hussar helicopters. They were transported to Southeast Asia by the Karel Doorman. 1 year later, the Dutch government deployed another 12 Hawker Hunter Mk06 AD fighters. These aircraft carried more fuel and had a larger combat radius. In August 1962, Indonesia was ready to attack New Guinea. Despite reinforcements, the Dutch defences would be insufficient to withstand the coming attack. Therefore, and because of international political pressure, the Dutch government was forced to agree to the peaceful surrender of New Guinea. Dutch forces were withdrawn from the territory. The establishment of 336 Transport Squadron is closely connected to New Guinea. Soon after activation, this unit was deployed to New Guinea to take over air transport from the Dutch Navy. 336 Squadron deployed and took over 3 Navy Dakotas and 3 U.S.-supplied aircraft. 336 Squadron operated from Mokma Airstrip and transported more than 5,400 passengers between September 1961 and September 1962. Cold War era, 1960s. 1970s and later. During the Cold War era, Dutch Air Force units played an important part in the West European defense against the opposing Warsaw Pact forces. The Dutch Air Force manned 5 fully operational self-supporting missile groups in West Germany. Dutch fighters and other weapon systems also took a full part in NATO alert, standby duties and exercises through the years. 306, 311, 312, 322 and 323 Squadron changed configuration again from 1962 to 1984 after the dual-role F-104 Starfighter was introduced. 313, 314, 315 and 316 Squadron switched over to the NF-5 Freedom Fighter from 1969 to 1991. The NF-5 was a development of the Canadair CF-5 fighter. Northrop incorporated some NF-5 features into the F-5E, F-Tiger II. Since 1979, all RNLAF fast jet squadrons have operated the multi-role F-16 Fighting Falcon. Former Yugoslavia. In 1992, Ippenberg Air Base closed, after the USAF handed over their section of Soesterberg in September 1994. Soesterberg then became a RNLAF transport helicopter base with 298 Squadron RNLAF and 300 Squadron stationed at the base. RNLAF F-16s participated in all operations over Yugoslavia from 1993 deny flight, including deliberate force in 1995 and ending with Operation Allied Force in 1999 from 2 bases in Italy, initially from Villafranca in the north of Italy, later moving south to Amendola Ab. During the operations over Frye, RNLAF F-16s flew reconnaissance, enforced the Bosnian no-fly zone, dropped bombs on Udbina Ab, successfully dropped an unguided bomb on a moving Serb tank during the fall of Srebrenica, and took part in deliberate force later in the summer of 1995. Between 1994 and 1997, Dutch GCI personnel, along with Canadian GCI controllers, provided many hundreds of hours of fighter control and surveillance as integrated members of USAF ANG air control squadrons. In May 1999, during the Kosovo crisis, a pilot RNLAF F-16AM Major Peter Tankink shot down a Yugoslavian MiG-29 with an AMRAAM, but the force was more recognized for its high bombing accuracy. Allied force was also the operational debut for the upgraded F-16AM. Besides the CAP mission, offensive bombing and photo reconnaissance missions were flown. KDC-10 tankers refueled Allied aircraft over the Adriatic Sea, and C-130 Hercules transports flew daily sorties from Eindhoven to logistically support the operation. Dutch F-16s also dropped cluster bombs on Nis. In total, RNLAF aircraft flew 1,194 sorties during Operation Allied Force, which is about 7.5% of the total 37,000 sorties flown. Operation Enduring Freedom and NATO in Afghanistan. On the 2nd of October 2002, a tri-national detachment of 18 Dutch, Danish and Norwegian F-16 ground attack aircraft and 1 Dutch KDC-10 tanker, deployed to Manis Air Base in Kyrgyzstan in support of ground forces in Afghanistan as part of Operation Enduring Freedom. On the 1st of October 2003, the Dutch F-16 detachment returned to the Netherlands and the KDC-10 returned even earlier. The RNLAF returned to Manasab on 8 September 2004 with 5 F-16 and 1 KDC-10 in support of the presidential elections of Afghanistan. This time, the aircraft flew under the NATO ISAF flag. On 24 March 2005, the whole Dutch detachment transferred from Manasab to Kabul International Airport. A detachment of 6 AH-64D Apache helicopters were already stationed at Kabul International Airport from April 2004 until March 2005. In February 2006, 4 Dutch F-16s were joined by 4 Royal Norwegian Air Force F-16s in a detachment known as the 1st Netherlands-Norwegian European Participating Forces Expeditionary Air Wing. This was a follow-up of the participation with the Belgian Air Force, as part of the expanded NATO ISAF mission in southern Afghanistan in August 2006. The Royal Netherlands Air Force had 3 CH-47D Chinook of 298 square stationed at Kandahar Airfield. On 12 November 2006, 8 F-16s transferred from Kabul International Airport to Kandahar Airfield. Additionally, a detachment of 6 AH-64D Apache helicopters had been stationed at Taran Kowt, Uruzgan Province. The CH-47D Chinooks of 298 square rotated with Cougars from 300 square. All helicopters together with a few F-16s returned to the Netherlands in November 2010. The other 4 F-16s transferred from Kandahar Airfield to Mazar-e Sharif International Airport in November 2011. The F-16 flight, providing close air support for ground forces and recce flights, ended their mission officially on 1 July 2014. On 31 August 2006, a Royal Netherlands Air Force pilot was killed when his plane crashed during a mission to support British ground troops in Helmand Province. On 7 December 2007, military use of Twente Air Base ceased. The aerodrome is now known as Enschede Airport Twente. Flying officially ended at Soesterberg Air Base on 12 November 2008. The last jet ever to take off was a Hellenic AF-F4E. The base formally closed on 31 December 2008. The 298th and 300th Squadron have been moved to Gilsey Ridge Air Base. A part of the base remains in use as a glider field however. Also, the former USAF E-side will be in use by ground units relocated from Camp Van Zeist and will be called Camp New Amsterdam. Finally, the AF Museum returned to the base and will use most of the existing hangars. 2010s. In 2013, the Royal Netherlands Air Force provided strategic airlift support with a DC-10 in support of French operations in Mali. The RNLAF was hit hard by the Dutch defense cuts after the 2008 financial crisis. 311 Squadron was disbanded in September 2012, leaving 4 squadrons of F-16. One DC-10 transport aircraft was disposed of. In October 2014, the Netherlands Air Force joined the US and its allies fighting IS, deploying 8 F-16s to Jordan. On 31 October 2014, 323 TAC Test Squadron disbanded and its aircraft and personnel were merged into 322 Squadron. The following Wednesday, the squadron reformed in the USA as the RNLAF 1st Joint Strike Fighter Unit. 303 Squadron provided search and rescue within Dutch Flight Information Region, until 1 January 2015 when the unit was disbanded. Structure of the Royal Netherlands Air Force. Main operating bases: Leeuwarden Air Base, 322 Squadron, 306 Squadron UAV, 920 Maintenance Squadron, 921 Logistics Squadron, 922 Support Squadron. Volkel Air Base, 312 Squadron, 313 Squadron, 900 Maintenance Squadron, 901 Logistics Squadron, 640 Support Squadron, 601 Reserve Squadron, 703 Munitions Support Squadron, ANWBMAA Mobile Medical Team, Lifeliner 3. Tactical Air Operations Base TFUF-16 MLU Fighter Training Unit Tucson Air National Guard Base. Air Operations Control Station NIEUW Milligen 603 Reserve Squadron, 711 Squadron and Military Air Traffic Control Center, 970 Support Squadron. In 2009, 710 and 711 Squadron were merged into one Air Operations Squadron. The status of the base was changed to NATO status, as an airmobile NATO Deployable Air Control Center, recognized Air Picture Production Center. Sensor Fusion Post-DARS radar unit became operational on the base in the same year. The CRC is slated to become the first user of the Thales land-based version of the Smart L surveillance radar, which will replace the old medium-power radars at NIEUW Milligen and Weir from 2018. Defense Helicopter Command Gilsey Ridge Air Base, 298 Squadron, RNLAF 299 Squadron, RNLAF 300 Squadron, RNLAF 300 Squadron. Royal Flight were disbanded. 301 Squadron, RNLAF 670 Security Squadron, 930 Maintenance Squadron, 931 Support Squadron, 932 Logistics Squadron, 604 Reserve Squadron. Naval Air Station DQIJ-7 Squadron, 860 Squadron, 990 Maintenance Squadron, 991 Support Squadron. Dealing Air Base 11 Luchtmobile Brigade Training Site. Designated as a military aviation site. Only fully operational when used for military helicopter exercises, otherwise staffed only by security personnel. Fort Hood, USA 302 Squadron. Air Transport Base Eindhoven Air Base 334 Transport Squadron 336 Transport Squadron 602 Reserve Squadron 940 Maintenance Support Squadron 941 Miscellaneous Support Squadron Movement Coordination Center Europe European Air Transport Command Common Support Base Woensdrecht Air Base Royal Netherlands Air Force Training Center 130 Squadron 131 Squadron 132 Squadron 133 Squadron Air Force Meteorological Group Air Force Logistics Center 960 Maintenance and Logistics Support Squadron 961 Support Squadron 604 Reserve Squadron Miscellaneous Units 600 Reserve Squadron 323 Squadron Rank Structure Aircraft Inventory